Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Showing Up podcast. I'm your host. Some people know me as big mountain skier Lynsey Dyer. I'll let you know when I have a more appropriate title. Here, it's my intention to encourage you to follow your weird, do the thing, even if you suck at it, and fully show up for this one wild and precious life that isn't always so easy to show up for.
I had this fire inside me that I just wanted to be just like the pros. Like, that was my dream, to snowboard somehow. I never knew it would be like a full-on career, but I just wanted to snowboard as much as I could and do all the tricks that I was seeing in the movies.
This podcast is a very special conversation with my dear friend Leanne Pelosi, the snowboarder and filmmaker. Our interview takes place in January at the Revelstoke Send It event. We talk about her life and career, how she grew up in Canada and was a star soccer player until she was fired from the team for breach of contract after they found out she was snowboarding on the side and hurt in a car accident. We talk about the golden age of women's snowboarding films in the early 2000s and how she learned to be a film producer on the job. I ask her about the struggles she's faced as a female filmmaker in a male-dominated sport, and she'll talk about having her filmer taken off set without her consent to go film the guy athletes. We'll also bring up the rise of the Instagram influencer and how they're taking sponsorship opportunities from highly respected athletes without really earning it or contributing to the sport, in her opinion. As a female filmmaker in a male-dominated industry, Leanne is such an inspiration to me because she really is everything. She's an athlete who genuinely loves snowboarding to her core and a producer willing to do what it takes to keep creating opportunities for herself and her female peers. Leanne is really something to look up to. I hope you enjoy the show. Dropping in
Okay.
Revelstoke. Revelstoke.
Yeah.
So, who are you? Where are we?
I'm Leanne Pelosi. I'm a professional snowboarder, and we are here sitting in a hotel room in Revelstoke, right at the base of the resort. We're here for Send It, which is kind of a tech event collaboration, kind of just,
We're still learning, I think.
Yeah.
Last year was
It's
a
really,
pilot.
yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's bringing a lot of really inspiring humans together. Some are friends already, and some are not. There's 150 guests, and it's really neat. Some of the brightest minds, but also just a lot of people looking to have fun on the mountain, and we get to help host the mountains to these people that. Some people get to ski a lot. Some people, this is their one ski trip a year.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Does that?
Yeah, I would agree, and it's really fun just to connect on the chairlifts and here and there in between all the big rush of going down the mountain. And I mean, I know Revelstoke well enough, but not confidently enough to take a crew on my own and be like, all right, here we go, I'll probably get us lost. But it's such a sick mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, it doesn't matter if you get lost on this mountain. I feel like it'll bring you back into where you need to be. But last year, Lexi DuPont was here, and I joined her crew, and she was ripping, and so we just kind of did a bunch of fun laps really fast. You skiers are so fast.
You don't ski with skiers much?
I have more
More lately,
recently.
huh?
Yeah. I just got back from Japan with Lexi, but you guys are really a lot faster than snowboarding. So.
It's a different vibe for sure, but you guys have brought so much to our sport. Thank goodness. It is faster. It can be. I don't know. Is it more intense now or is it just how many skiers do you really know? Really know?
I know a solid crew of skiers in Whistler.
Yeah. So
that I've been connecting with over the last 5 years-ish.
So would you say snowboarders and skiers are different or not? The crew that you know, the people you know.
Oh, I feel like we're off the hill, we're all friends, and on the hill we love to poke fun at each other and our differences and our quirks, and definitely being a snowboarder on a touring setup is so much slower. So yeah, I will take all the flack because I know I'm slow, and I think it's funny.
What other things do like?
But they can't slash. You guys
no,
can't
we
slash.
can't slash. Oh, and you guys, one powder turn is so sick. I'm like, maybe just on powder days I'll be a snowboarder, but then I'm like, no, but it's so fun on skis.
Yeah, well, I wonder why there's a little trend going on with the pow surfing movement and the skiers.
It's core.
It's pretty
if you don't have bindings, you're so much more core than with bindings.
Well, it just makes the easiest slope seem so much more difficult.
Exactly. No, it's
and
so
challenging.
True. It's so true. And it is challenging. Man, I've eaten shit hard. So what have you been up to this year? Like, I want to go back into the story, but just everything that's brought us together. You're so much more than an athlete. You've been on the scene for a long time, and you've made your own way, and you've made the way for other girls too on the production side, and as an entrepreneur. I know you've gotten into like buying and flipping houses. Is that true? Like, you guys are so entrepreneurial in so many ways. I want to talk about it all.
Okay, well, I grew up in Calgary, and I loved snowboarding with all the guys and my brother.
But you were going to be a pro soccer player, too.
That was, my original dream was to become a pro soccer player. I played university soccer at U of C. And
did you get a scholarship there?
Yeah, I had a scholarship and played for the junior national team.
That's so rad. What position?
I was center mid, kind of all over midfield.
So you're fast. You like to
run. More the strategy, kind of setting up plays.
So did you grow up like playing soccer as early as you can remember? Were you kind of like born into playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I asked my parents to join a soccer league when my friends at school were in, I don't know, maybe grade 4, something like that, a while back.
So you asked them, they didn't put you into it?
No, my parents didn't put me into it, and then they did put me into it, and then soon enough I played on 3 soccer teams, and university team, and provincial team, and all the teams.
So was that really competitive, or was it pretty easy for you? Like, what did you like about soccer?
I loved the camaraderie between the team, having a team of girls that have your back.
I miss it so much.
Yeah, and I loved the strategy, playing, like linking up passes to score a goal. I just loved how it all came together, and I loved playing with my team year after year because I feel like we just kind of knew each other, what was going on in each other's minds before we even would make a move.
That's rad.
So
group flow.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then I really wanted to become a professional soccer player. That was definitely it. Mia Hamm was one of my big inspirations. I used to follow the U.S. soccer team because they were just the biggest thing. And then I feel like I finished my last year of university soccer, and then I actually got cut from the junior national team and ended up getting into this big car accident on the highway on the way home from snowboarding and shattered my humerus. And then shortly after, I got a note in the mail saying you have breached your contract, you're not supposed to focus on more than one sport. And so then cut.
Were you devastated, or were you kind of looking for a way out?
Oh, that was my dream crushed.
Oh, so that was your identity, that was everything.
I was like, what? So then I just finished a biomechanics degree at U of C in kinesiology, and I was kind of on the mechanical engineering program as well. I was going to finish 2 degrees, but a bunch of my friends had moved to Whistler, and I was like, I think I need to take a break and just go have fun in Whistler for one season. So you were super ambitious.
That's amazing.
Well, I just had a dream. I just wanted to, that's all I thought about was playing soccer.
And 2 degrees. Not everyone does things like that, though.
Well, no, I feel like when you grow up in Calgary, in an oil city, Dad's an engineer. He's like, Leanne, you're going to make good money if you become an engineer. I didn't really think about what I was actually enrolling in. And I remember just being in a computer science course and looking around and trying to make a program. And my program was a snowboarder going off a jump. and flipping around. And I just looked around and I'm like, okay, everybody around here loves doing what they want to do, and I just wanted to escape to the mountains and be outside, and I just hated being in front of a computer. So I kind of, after one of my really good friends moved to Whistler, I kind of followed suit right away just for a season.
So how old were you?
This is 21.
And why snowboarding and not like skiing? Because isn't that how a lot of people get introduced to the mountains?
Yeah, I definitely skied when I was younger, when I was really young, but just seemed like all the cool kids were snowboarding in my school, and I wanted to hang out with all the guys like a grade above me that had cars that were driving to the hill on the weeknights. So,
can we talk about that? Did sports or like, were sports ever a way to learn more about boys, or were you ever following somebody that was cute? You know what I mean? Where I feel like we never talk about that stuff as athletes, like, oh, it's all about my sport, but like,
oh, it definitely starts with a crush,
right? Well, I guess for me, I said I would play baseball to, and I would never admit it, but I was fascinated with learning about these creatures called boys, and that was like a little league, you know what I mean? I never spoke to them.
Well, I think
on the bench.
What sport brings is community.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be part of this crew. That was cool. And then like these guys, like, yeah, all the girls had crushes, and I'm like, look, if I can go snowboarding with these guys, I want to just be friends with them, and that to me was the most important. So yeah, I'll grab a snowboard. My brother and I shared a snowboard in the very beginning, and yeah, we would just go out to Wintergreen.
And so you didn't have crushes on them, you just wanted to be friends with them?
I feel like I definitely had some crushes on them, but the friends
always prevailed.
Yeah, I think that was more important, or I felt like that was gonna I don't know, maybe make the chance of actually snowboarding with them all the time a lot longer of a
I guess good eyes.
A relationship. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like as an athlete, did you ever get overlooked by guys in that way for like, you know, the aesthetic, like the girl that you see on TV versus, or maybe could you relate with the girls you saw on TV or
at school
or people that were popular or popular, whether, you know, who did you relate to as a young girl, especially in media?
I just yearned to find media about women athletes, and it was hard to find, and I used to scour snowboard magazines back in the day to just find
an example.
An example of someone that could do it, and I knew there were professional snowboarders out there. I mean, I used to read snowboard magazines before I even was a snowboarder.
Oh, okay.
When I was...
How'd you find them? How'd you come upon them?
They used to have big World Cups in Calgary.
Okay.
And I'd make my parents drive me to the World Cup just so I could watch Michael Chuck do Michael Chucks back in the day before
you could even snowboard.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just thought it was so cool. It was just this fringe sport in the 90s. So,
and there wasn't anybody like influencing you or like telling you it was cool?
all the kids in my school were wearing like Chip and Pepper, West Beach, all these brands, big baggy clothes, and that was all from skateboarding and snowboarding.
Right.
And so the whole culture, I was just attracted to that and the community around it. And so yeah, I put a huge West Beach sticker on the back of my car and got really into it before I even could really do a turn.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just moved to Whistler then. Tell us about moving like to Whistler at 21. Like that's like living the dream, right?
Yeah, I was living the dream kind of. I rented, I mean, it was one of my friends had another friend. I rented a room, the same room as my friend, and she had a bed, and then I had like a couch, like
one room.
Like, yeah, one room, and then it was just like a couch that the legs folded, like like a lazy boy.
Okay.
And so that was my bed. It was so uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
But I just wanted to do anything it took to get to Whistler and keep it cheap. At this point, I had a little bit of a settlement from my car accident. So I got a job at Earl's. And
like everyone does.
Yeah.
Girls for the girls. What is it?
Hostess.
What is it saying,
And
though?
I used to come to work with black eyes, and they were like, oh, you can have a day off, Leanne. I'm like, great, perfect, more snowboarding time for me.
Isn't that funny? How many black eye stories do we have? Wow. We should talk about black eye stories. No one ever talks about that. I had my black eyes, like, reconstructed, like, with manual help. Like, my friend put me back together so many times from hitting my knee on my face. Yeah.
From hitting stuff.
Yeah, but luckily I never broke my orbital, and a lot of my friends had that. Did you guys?
Oh, no, I never broke, but it always felt like it was, like, a badge of honor to get a black eye and, like, hang out with everybody. Like, I just went for it and I sent it, and this is what I got. I'm so badass.
Totally, I know what you mean. It felt so good.
Everybody wants to take a selfie when they get a good black eye.
But you were never afraid to send it. Like, what do you feel like lit that fire? Because not all girls, they might like the culture, they might like the clothes, but like when it comes to like checking out the cliff, like what made you send it?
Oh, I had this fire inside me that I just wanted to be just like the pros. Like, that was my dream, to snowboard somehow. I never knew it would be like a full-on career, but I just wanted to snowboard as much as I could and do all the tricks that I was seeing in the movies.
And those were all originally it was like contests, right? Like you had to do contests to get recognized. Like, will you explain like how it kind of works in that industry? Like how?
Yeah, it seemed like at that time when I just moved to Whistler that there were snowboard magazines and there were movies, but there was only like one or two women in these movies, and it was Tara Takitis and Jana Mayan. And then there was a big contest scene with the X Games going on. That was pretty big. So I would watch the X Games and then kind of just like follow along and kind of realize that the contest route was the way to do it. I don't know. And then like myself and my roommates would film each other in the Whistler Park. And actually that's how I got my first sponsorship, was from K2. And there was a website called Snowboard.com. And that was a huge community. And I had put this little sponsor me tape on Snowboard.com. And then
you could upload it yourself?
Yeah. And I had my own little profile. And then I got a message from Corey Grove and Bobby Meeks. And Bobby Meeks was a huge pro on K2 at the time. And he was like, oh, do you want to ride for K2? And I was like, this has got to be a fake account. Like, there's no way it would be the actual pro Bobby Meeks hitting me up.
Right.
And so, sure enough, I got a box sent to me with 2 snowboards in the mail and a contract with a little travel budget. And at this point, I had gotten this in the spring, summertime, and
How old were you?
It was the first year after I moved to Whistler. But...
So, like 23, did you say?
No, I was like, I think 21 or 22.
Amazing.
I forget which year.
So
exactly.
you never got a real job. You just went straight into...
My real job was Earl's.
Right. Hostessing.
And landscaping.
Gotcha. Did you do that like over the summer?
I actually loved landscaping because it was a nice meditation. I would just think about snowboarding. and
like growing up in high school or college, like when was that? Like what jobs?
What jobs? I would coach soccer in the summers.
Okay.
And then I was a carded athlete with Canada, so I was actually getting paid while I was going to university.
Oh, that's so rad. You're such a badass. You were getting paid as an athlete, like, so young.
Yeah, and so
multiple sports.
When I was younger and I was getting paid, I mean, I was living at my parents' house, so I ended up investing my money into, like, stocks when I was, like, 18.
Amazing. So who like inspired that? Like, how were you so smart? So
I didn't really know what I was doing. I just was like, what am I going to do with this money? My parents were like, well, you should probably save it for one day when you get a house. And so I think I just signed up for like a mutual fund or something and
Amazing.
put it all in there. And I said, yeah, I'll do the aggressive one, whatever that is. I'll take some risks.
You're a risk taker.
Yeah.
Did it work?
I think so. I mean, like, I still haven't, like, touched that. That goes in Canada, we have a RSP. It's like your retirement savings.
So that's what you put it into?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. So wise.
Yeah, I was very lucky to get that at that moment in time. And I remember getting, like, a free cell phone from the whole soccer program as well. So I didn't have too much debt after university, which helped a lot being in Whistler, because Whistler at that time I thought was expensive, but it's nowhere near as expensive as it is now.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, you could live in a house with 5 people and make it on, like, $600 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember coming up once maybe for Camp of Champions or something, and I mean, let's see if this is, like, right on the time trajectory, but there was a whole bunch of people living in a house, and I remember the first, like, female snowboard movie being made. I don't know if it was the first.
Yeah, there was a lot.
There was a lot.
Back in the day.
So why were there so many back in the day, and then why did it seem like they stopped?
I think it all just depends on, like, it's usually
Support,
these projects are kind of created by the women in the industry that want to make it happen. So if there's somebody with that motivation and they make it happen, it happens. And I was definitely lucky to have a couple friends that made women's movies before I did.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. You got your first contract.
Yeah.
And then
I blew my knee, actually.
Oh.
I blew my knee and I got this contract and I was like, I'm not going to tell them that I blew my knee, because then for sure I'm getting cut before I even sign this thing.
Well, and let's talk about that. Often in contracts, what people might not know is that often they will put a
like a 30-day clause
in there that says if you're injured, you're in breach of contract. So basically, you're an independent contractor. They're not helping you out with any medical support, and if you get hurt, you're done.
Yeah.
So it's very brutal.
Yeah, it can be challenging. So I just had surgery, and I was like, okay, I could probably be okay by the time, like, I had surgery in April. I was like, I'm probably okay by the time they bring me to this first contest. And I think it was the Vans Triple Crown. And Kevin English was my team manager, and Kim Bonzak was a big pro snowboarder, his wife. And I got to the event, and I still hadn't told them, and I still hadn't hit a jump. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so nerve-wracking. I just got to get right back into it, because, like, but I was so scared to hit a jump after coming back from...
How many months was that? So from April till when?
May, June, July, August, September, October. It was 8 months. It was a decent amount of time.
It's, like, barely enough.
But, like, I mean, I felt like my knee was fine.
And how did you get hurt in the first place? How did you blow it in the first place?
Oh, I went to this ski resort east of Vancouver called Hemlock Mountain.
Sure.
And it was like a Capita Jason Brown photo shoot with the skids, and I had a friend that was like, let's go to this shoot, and I was like, okay. Just a bunch of my guy friends living in Whistler, we went there, and there was this hip.
So basically they're shooting anyone at that time?
I don't remember I think they were just shooting anybody, and it was just a small group of people, and I was the girl that got invited, and I went, and I was like, oh, I'll hit that, and I hit this hip, and it had a super flat landing. I didn't even know what flat was, and I landed sideways and heard a huge pop, and I was like, oh my god, I blew my knee, and everybody's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, okay, I didn't. Probably not. Like, I was convinced by them that it was okay.
Yeah.
But it felt super wobbly, and and so I stayed the night at the resort, and the next morning my knee was a watermelon, and I was like, oh, I gotta go. And so then my other friend, he also stepped off a snowmobile while we were there, and he blew his knee too. So there's two. Oh my we were just like two peas in a pod with, like, injured knees.
Oh, man.
And shortly after, I went to the doctor, and he's like, oh yeah, this is just your ACL, like, it's fine. Dr. McConkey fixed my knee like a few months later.
So tell us about how it works in Canada, because it's different than in the States, right? Like, you guys get health insurance, so was that paid for?
You go to the doctor, and they're like, okay, well, there's an 8-month wait for this. And I'm like, no, please, no. Like, I'm an athlete.
Right.
I'm an aspiring snowboarder. I really need this, even though, like, it wasn't like it was my job at that point.
Right, you couldn't.
I was just like, I'm an athlete. Please, can you do anything? Like, so they were like, okay, like, if there's any cancellations, we'll put you up to the front of the line or whatever. And
yeah, so just to clarify real quick, you have to get in line. It's not like in the US, you could schedule your appointment and you're paying privately for the most part. You probably have some insurance. And for you guys, it's paid for by the state. And so you have to get in line for all the people that need it. Is that correct?
It's basically like worst case scenario goes first.
Gotcha.
And like, I mean, if you're dying, you've got, like, you go to the hospital, obviously they're going to see to that person first and then everybody gets shifted back. And so, like, generally there's like several month wait for surgery. I think right now you can get private surgeries and things. Like,
it's just more cost.
Then you just pay out of pocket.
So how long did you have to wait?
I didn't wait too long, like maybe a month or two.
Okay.
And I was like, this is perfect timing because it was springtime and I had all summer to go back to university to see if I was going to finish my engineering.
Oh, you were going back to school in the summer
I went
anyways.
back to engineering.
Okay.
And then I was like, I just got this contract. I think I'm going to go that way, back to Whistler.
So you never finished school, or you did?
I finished a Bachelor of Science in Biomechanics, but I did not finish my mechanical engineering.
Oh. Fair enough. Your second degree you didn't finish.
Yeah.
Wow. You got lots of degrees in other ways. Okay, so can we talk a little bit too about like getting invited? Like, how did you first get invited on these shoots? And like, did you ever find that you got invited for a variety of reasons? Some like maybe because I was talking to a girl today, and people like kind of want to make want people to tell the sexist stories, right? Like sexist being like, how are you? So I'm about to give this talk on gender barriers, and people want to talk about like, how have you been held back by gender? And I definitely have stories where it absolutely was. However, I also have stories where maybe I was invited for like just simple reasons, like somebody had a crush on me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How many, like, can you share some stories?
I've definitely felt gender barriers throughout my career, for sure. Like, so many.
Yeah. Especially the more seriously I felt like you take yourself, then you start to really run into that.
Yeah.
So, I want to get into that.
But at the very beginning when I moved to Whistler, I think I was just snowboarding as hard as I could every day. It was impossible to not see this girl just trying all these tricks and eating shit. And so I was getting a lot of help and recognition from my peers. And so I was getting...
So they saw you were serious about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And like, I remember Kevin Sansalone ended up giving me a pair of dragon goggles, and he's like, you're killing it, like, here's some goggles, and I see if I can get you sponsored. And I was just like, whoa,
I love it.
That is sick. So I had a lot of help from a lot of the guys that were pro at the time, and I was really grateful for that, because I don't know, there is no recipe of how to become a pro snowboarder or a pro skier. A lot of parents ask me, how does my kid do this? And I mean, I just immersed myself into the biggest shred town in Canada was Whistler. I was like, I gotta go there. I gotta like be amongst it, ride Blackcomb Park. I was doing stupid things and being naive by doing like rodeos to face and just trying all sorts of funny tricks. But
I just find, I have a nonprofit, and we find that so many women get introduced to the outdoors through men, right? And often it's their boyfriend. And so I'm always wondering like what advice we give to girls so that it doesn't have to be your dad or your brother or your boyfriend that takes you out and shows you around. There's got to be other ways. So
yeah, well, there's definitely, I think now more than ever that we have the internet and all the groups and the Facebook groups, I find that like it's pretty easy to find people to tag along, whether it's male or female. Like, for example, Whistler has an amazing, I'm sure Jackson Hole does too, but an amazing Facebook group. And they've got a touring group. And you can
amazing.
and people are like, yeah, I'm going to go here. What's the beta? Blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of, there's a big community that is open to joining forces and going and enjoying the
awesome.
Outdoors together. So, yeah, I'm pretty inspired by seeing those kinds of groups. And
so they exist. So communities out there if you just look and show up.
For sure.
Okay, so back to the story.
It's easier than you think.
I'm like trying to talk fast because we only have 29 more minutes. So you just came back to your first contest after blowing out your knee, and you haven't hit a jump yet. What's that like?
And I ended up confiding into Kim Bonsack, and I was just like, okay, I have a secret. I got knee surgery in the summer. I feel super unconfident right now. Like, I need some help. And she was like, oh, girl, why didn't you tell us earlier?
And who was she?
She was a pro snowboarder that I looked up to.
But wasn't she
And she was also together with my team manager.
Okay.
So right away, she turns around and was like, Kevin, Leanne blew her knee and she's coming back from surgery and blah, blah, blah. And she kind of just, like, broke the ice. And he was like, oh, he's like, Leanne, you could have told us that. I'm like, I know, I just didn't want to like mess up this whole, my first sponsorship. And they were super welcoming, and they were like, okay, you're going to follow us off these jumps, these little ones.
Aww.
And so.
This is your team manager.
Oh yeah.
This is so rad to
They
hear.
were so awesome. So they helped me build my confidence back up, and yeah, I ended up competing in that contest. I don't remember what happened, but that was the start of K2 bringing me to and like getting me into contests.
Yeah, so how far did all that, tell us about that life, that contest life, and because there was a time when like snowboarders were just like rock stars.
Oh yeah, and I feel like I was, those were the good times.
Yeah,
for sure.
Share what those.
There was a lot of contests, a lot of support.
Like how much were people making? Like.
Oh, I think those were the early 2000s. I came into pro snowboarding in 2005, right before the big economy collapse.
So just before you, people were like making like how much? I don't even know.
I don't know. I just remember seeing all the pros driving Audis in their video parts.
Yeah.
Like JP Walker and like fronting all this like glamour and just
and being
so
supported
funny
by giant brands.
Yeah, Nike got into snowboarding, and Forum was really big back in the day with their snowboard movies, and
like every commercial was like, do. It's like a snowboarder. You know what I mean?
And I think that added to the whole like draw and pull of snowboarding. Like it seemed like it was so much fun, and that's really what it was. It was a bunch of snowboard bums partying their faces off and kind of competing as well a little bit. It's gotten way more serious since those early 2000s.
Way more structured.
But yeah, I definitely rolled into the whole contest scene where it was encouraged that you're partying till the night before a contest and you show up at Big Air and you're doing it, but you're kind of hungover and like definitely not feeling the greatest.
Wow.
But still somehow pulling it off. I don't know how I did it, but yeah, I had a nickname, and it was Party Pelosi because
really, you sent it.
I definitely
you sent it at night and during the day.
I was just influenced by all my surroundings and being brought to these amazing contests where there's parties and then you're competing, and yeah, it feels like the rock star life because then you take off to the next contest and then Transworld calls and you're like on a photo shoot with like all of your heroes, and it's just like non-stop. Yeah, I felt like I went from zero to hero at that time because I think I ended up winning Rookie of the Year for Trans World, and then the next year I got Rider of the Year. And,
wow.
And then at that point is when I started getting contracts from sponsors.
Like which ones? Like ones that we might recognize, or like
K2, Bonfire. Bonfire was a really big outerwear brand.
Yep, I remember. Is it still around?
Dragon, Dakine. I don't know. I think it's still around, but it's owned by different people.
So like you got Rider of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and then Rider of the Year back to back. Then what? Like how do you outdo yourself? Or like were those part of your goals? And then how did you make bigger goals? Or what?
Well, I was on the full contest scene for rails. I was a jibber.
Okay.
My brother definitely taught me how to ride rails before it was even like a popular thing on the contest scene. So by the time the contest rolled out with these rail jams, I was like, oh, I love rails.
Awesome.
Like I want to get into all these contests. And so I think I ended up winning almost every rail contest I ever entered. And that was my strength. And then slopestyle came around and wasn't as strong of a jumper, but...
Would you say that, partially, I mean, how was the competition at that time? Do you feel like it was... How much of all of this, and I speak to myself too, is like luck and timing, and as well as like making your own luck? Like what percentage would you say?
I think it was lucky that I had already like really gotten into handrails before. Like I was just strictly passionate about riding rails, and at that time it was like you count how many stairs on the rail. And I remember seeing Jana and Tara hit like a 28 or 30 stair, and I went out and found a 34 stair, and I was like, I'm gonna go boardside that. I'm doing what the pros are doing.
Love it. Gotcha.
Like I was just so obsessed, beyond obsessed with snowboarding. So
you only compared yourself to the girls. You didn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was inspired by the guys, but really, what lit the fire under my ass was seeing these other women doing it, because that gave me the full reflection that I could do it.
Right.
And that's always been the story with me. I was always inspired by other women.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for the media to showcase women in all these sports, because that little girl needs some tangible sort of inspiration.
Proof. Yeah.
And that's extremely important.
Do you want to just jump to that? Like how, well, I think we'll get there, but so obviously you have like, I won't say transition, but you've like added this production aspect. How did you get from contest girl, like probably like everybody's doll in some ways, to producing your own stuff?
How did I get there? I was always influenced by the movies first and foremost. I feel like I competed as a roundabout way to get into filming. Okay. I always wanted to. I didn't love competing. I had fun competing, but what I really loved was seeing the creative process of filming, and you could just hit anything and make it a shot, and it just seemed like it was just this whole world where there were no limits. And that's what attracted me more than being in the kind of like a square box of contest scene. So there was, I was filming a little bit on the side of doing the contest scene. And there was Mischief Films by Fabia Grubler. And
Fabia is the house that I stopped by, and she was making that first. I don't know if that was the first, but...
No, definitely wasn't the first. But they had the torch passed on to them, and they took the reins, and definitely snowboarding was at a high in the industry, and there was a lot of support for women at that time. So I feel like that was maybe 2005 or 6 that they made Mischief Films. Amber Stackhouse and Fabia took the helm and made this awesome 2 years worth of videos. but we all know, well, you and I both know it's a lot of work and you get burnt out. And I feel like after they did such a great job and it was so awesome, and it was the
really
start.
thankless work for them.
I
had a long talk with Fabia at that time, and she, like you said, she was really burnt out. She felt
she worked nonstop for us.
Yeah.
She was such a workaholic, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity, because we weren't that amazing at snowboarding at that time in the backcountry. Now that I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And they created that platform for us to get our feet wet in the backcountry.
So was that your first filming experience for a film, or what?
It was my first real, like, backcountry experience. Lauren Graham before that had made a film as well around Whistler, and it was called Shot in the Dark.
Amazing.
And she's gone on to become super fantastic filmmaker in Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Where's Fabia now? So let's talk about, since we're talking about her, let's talk about her background. She was a snowboarder, but she wasn't trying to be pro. Like, what made her?
Oh yeah, Fabia, I think, worked at Trans World. She was also really into the whole scene and the culture, and had a lot of great skills to bring to the table, and one of them is organization and being a boss at fundraising. And so
she was beautiful, and she was she Norwegian?
She's Swiss.
Swiss, yeah. And she was just a boss. She just, like, demanded.
Yeah, she was, like, such a boss.
Like, respect.
Yes.
It was really cool. And she owned this big, beautiful house, and all these snowboarder bums lived there, and she had to, like, partially play mom.
She organized.
And, like, hold it down for a lot of people.
Yeah, she organized a lot for us, and then she went on to work for Camp of Champions and killed it with summer camp there, too. And she's still doing production work, which is pretty cool.
Yay, Fabia. You don't have to be a pro to, like, have a huge impact on this sport.
You definitely don't need to be pro. There's so many opportunities that exist creatively around being an athlete.
All of it.
Yeah.
Especially for longevity, so that you don't get burnt out.
Yeah, totally. And it's all really fun. Filmmaking is really fun. And so, yeah, after they got burnt out, I was like, who's going to carry the torch? Like, is it going to be me? I will do it if nobody else is going to do it. And I looked at Jeff, my boyfriend, and I was like, do you want to help me in making some movies? And he's like, okay. And so for the next 2 years, Jeff and I co-produced Runway Films. That's when Runway Films was born.
Okay.
And we did 2 films after that for the women's snowboard industry, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what was that? What was it like initially to film with all girls?
It was fun. They were just all my friends. I just felt like this is what I would do anyways.
Okay. So you were already riding with other girls?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like in your crew, or
I
like
started
in your
off riding with all the guys.
Right.
I felt like at home in Whistler, I was one of the only girls out there, kind of like
so how did
sending
you
it, and then
start to find a girl crew?
Well, after I went to all the contests,
there
was this huge community of, like, world-class snowboarders that I got to tap into and become friends with.
So go ahead.
Oh, so then everybody just kind of, I mean, we were all influenced by all the snowboard movies, and when Fabi and Amber were like, we're gonna make something, we were like, sweet! And so we all kind of banded together and made it, and we traveled the world and went to Europe and Utah and British Columbia, and we made this film. It was fun.
So how did you deal with all the personalities, especially in something that was, like, built originally and having to compete against each other?
Oh, it's loose. I mean, there's definitely, like, arguments here and there and this and that, but that's, like, the joy of trying to figure it out and like knowing your space and your role and trying to keep it even keel. And I always tried to just keep it pretty mellow and navigate around drama. There's drama, but there was also, like, so many good moments. If we could all, like, band together and not be competitive with each other.
Well, I know that's the dream, but, like, what were some of, like, give us an example of some of the drama.
like, okay, this is like going back so long ago. I mean, there's drama between the filmers and the writers of filmers. I mean, it's just petty stuff, like filmers not being in the spot that the writer wants them to be, and them kind of getting mad at each other, and, you know, just like hastiness towards each other. And like, you got to learn that you have to treat everybody with respect, because it's such a small industry, and you don't want to, like, there's no point in having arguments with people and grudges and holding those and stuff. It just doesn't work out. So it's better to figure out how to work with someone, even if you don't like them. You know, just kind of try and keep it professional. And that's how I think you can get a lot further. I don't know.
Yeah, I just figured you must have had with, how many films have you produced now?
3.
Wow.
Full Moon was 2 years, and then well, 4 years at Worth, I guess. So, yeah, Full Moon was 2 years, and then See What I See and La La Land were each 1 year.
Amazing. So how did you first go about fundraising when you had never been in that position before? Or had you always had to try to fundraise for your career, like, to make that kind of transition?
I literally made a teaser. I organized our crew to do some filming in the park, and I showed up at the trade show, the snow sports trade show, and with a DVD and a computer. And I went around all the booths and said, hey, we want to make a movie. Do you think you can support it? Like, we're looking for sponsors. Transworld's going to partner with us. We're going to get all this awesome content. Like, you guys should sponsor us. Like, you're our sponsors. So
what year is this? Like that first?
Like 2006. So at that point in time, business was great in America.
Yeah.
All the sponsors were like, sure, let's do this. You guys go. We're so stoked to help you and support.
That's awesome.
And for those 2 seasons that we made movies, it was definitely smooth sailing. We just...
Do you mind me asking, like, what budget did you have to make a film that time?
I can't exactly remember how much money we had, but it was probably around $100,000.
That's so
rad. It was
for
like
all women's project.
Yeah,
that's so rad.
I think, don't quote me, but I it was around. It was a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
For me at that time, and I was like, look, we've got all the resources in the world. We can hire whoever we want and get all the music rights in that. And I think the biggest challenge with me being at the helm was having no experience figuring out how to make sure that we don't spend all the money before it's done. And so ended up figuring that out, and it all worked out. I just tried to do equations on on spreadsheets, and
because you didn't have a business background, like
no. And I think, like, definitely I would surround myself with people who had way more experience than me. Like, I remember Kevin Sansloan and the Skids, they were making movies back in the day, so I'm pretty sure I would get some good advice from those guys. I definitely, anytime I don't know anything, I'll just look to a mentor or somebody who inspires me, and I'll ask them. I was definitely getting some advice from sponsors and things. So
was that, like, were contests kind of going downhill when you decided to kind of take the reins there, or were you still, you know, just as heavy in those and needing that to be a part of it all?
I was trying to balance everything between competing and doing the whole film thing. But at that point in time, you could do it all. There was definitely the opportunity to film, and I mean, right now, like, people only focus on training.
It's like you have to.
Yeah, you have to spend every single minute of your entire year to dedicate towards progressing the sport. And at that time, it was more of a party vibe. People weren't really focusing on just increasing progression as fast. Maybe they were, but, like, I mean, I feel like they were, but it just, the way things would come together, you could film and compete, and it wasn't a big deal. I think that would be almost impossible to do at this moment in time. Like, I don't really know many athletes that film and then also are at the top of the podium.
No, it's kind of like the thing. It's like you do the contest and then you try to film. Would you agree? Like,
yeah.
I mean, and I'm just thinking snowboard because it's so different in the ski world.
Yeah.
So, okay, so where are we on the storyline here? So tell me about how did that first movie do, and like what did you learn from those? And then, like you said, you had a lot of support as a woman. Do you have any examples of like sexism, like in the reverse, where?
Well, after filming, after producing my own movies, I decided maybe this is a time for me to, like Jeff basically was pretty over the workload, and he was running his own snowboard company at the same time. He's like, look, I can't do this anymore, and I'm like, okay. So we kind of put Runway Films on hold, and I'm like, okay, time for me to jump on somebody else's crew who's doing all that work, because it's a lot of work.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And so...
Do you want to talk about just what it actually means? Like just some examples of... Because we always see the films, but we don't see what's behind them.
I mean, it starts off with fundraising and going to sponsors and having pitch decks and a lot of emails, just a lot of connections and seeing if the riders are on board. And once you got your idea, then you sell it to the brands. And then hopefully the brands are down to support. And then, you make the partnerships with the magazines and your outlets and whatnot. And then you hire a talented crew of creatives to join you and help get this thing off the ground. And then you basically, I guess the most important thing to know if you don't know the snowboard industry or the ski industry is generally you'll spend the entire winter finding the snow, finding the goods, figuring it out all year for a 2-minute clip. And a 2-minute clip is your best footage of the year. And it's just hours upon hours condensed into only the best. And highlights. And that kind of, and then we edit that into a film 30 to 45 minutes long. And so, yeah, you're pretty much on call then, on Mother Nature's call. Wherever it's good, that's where you're going to go.
Yeah, so I kind of cut you off, but the question originally was like, so when did your gender actually you find negativity from that? Do you hear what I'm saying?
I think the first time that I felt negativity towards my gender was when I decided that I was going to go film with the boys. I never had an issue before in the park as kind of an up-and-comer doing the whole sponsor me video and things. But
so it's like easy to get in, at least to be welcomed within a friend circle.
Yeah, but then as soon as I joined this crew of professionals, it was a whole different world that I was not used to. I thought, I kind of assumed that I was going to have equal space for filming, but I would wait around Whistler for a month for the sun to show up, and then, okay, we've got this window of sun, and I got this phone call, and it was like, well, we're taking your filmer, we got to put them all on the guys. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, my sponsors just supported.
What do you mean
so
we're
much
taking
money.
your filmer? Who, like?
The producer or director of the film said to me, we're going to take your filmer and bring him to our crew and film just
what the guys are doing.
The guys. You're going to sit out this round because we need to focus on our main man.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, but I thought I was a part of this just like he was. Like, what the heck? And that was a big blow. I was like, okay, this is how this works. This is not fair, because as far as support goes, my sponsors put in and they expect, a video part or something. So then that's when I felt a lot of pressure, and I just was in disbelief that this was even happening. And so I didn't have the greatest season with this film company, and I didn't see many opportunities beyond this, and so I continued to film with them another season.
And there just wasn't any other opportunity.
Yeah, there wasn't that many opportunities, and I was like, well, if this is it, I guess I've just got to figure it out and work with these guys. And they just wouldn't give me the time of day, and I lost a lot of confidence and probably went into a little bit of a depression because I felt like I was on such a high in the first few years of my career. And then just to get basically like kicked in the face and like, we don't care, we don't want you here, we'll take your sponsors money, but that doesn't mean that you get just equal representation
or opportunity to even show what you can do.
So things like that, and at that point I was like, okay, well, you know what, I had a great time, I don't mind working for it, and if I'm gonna do something, I need to just own it and do it myself. And so that's kind of been my mantra throughout my career, is if I want to do something, I'm just gonna do it.
Stop waiting for the invite. And
so then that kind of led to the making of Full Moon. I realized that, you know, we weren't getting that many, like, we as the 7 girls in our film that were all backcountry based, we weren't getting, like, the backcountry snowboarding women weren't getting that much play in the industry and the media at all. And I was like, okay, if we all went to dinner this one night, and I was like, if we all joined together and joined forces, it would be so amazing for us to have a big impact on snowboarding and like showcase backcountry women's snowboarding, like how it deserves to be shown.
Do you just want to give a shout out to your 7 so that people know who they are?
The amazing women that were in Full Moon. So it was Jamie Anderson, Marie France, Annie Boulanger, Robin Van Gin, Hannah Beeman, Helen Scatini, Elena Height, and then there was some other legendary pros that from archival footage that were also involved. Tara Takitas. It was basically a story about how we're all connected at an arm's reach.
And you really all worked on it together, and you could get through arguments together, or like, it's really hard. Like, it's hard to film, it's hard to travel together. Like, it's so cool to hear that you could keep a group that diverse.
Well, yeah, the feminine energy is a little crazy.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, for sure. We definitely all had our moments, but I think when you get older, you get a little bit more self-aware. And so we would just, you know, there was certain people that worked better together, and I just kind of focused on figuring that out for everybody. I was that mediator that was like, okay, these girls love filming with each other. They're going to go here and they'll have a filmer and it'll be great. And so we kind of worked our season where, like, occasionally we would all come together and film. But when we all come together and film, it was a little bit like too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah. You can't put 7 women in a crew and go out into the backcountry.
Right.
Really, the best scenario is when you have 2 or 3 athletes max in a crew.
And then you were just paying a male cinematographer?
Yeah, we had some incredibly talented cinematographers.
And they would work with you over the guys, all the different guys groups.
Oh yeah, we had awesome, like Ethan Merrick.
Cool.
He owns Dendrite Studios, which is amazing. They made Kai Peterson's movie.
Yeah.
He filmed with us, and then.
And he never like treated you differently or put you down because you're women.
No, he was great.
So great to hear.
He was so great.
Different stories.
He was so great to work with.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's very, very cool. So we don't have too much more time, but I want to ask, you know, how have things shifted now, and with this whole rise of social media and influencers? Like, how have you seen the industry shift?
Well, that's a loaded question. I don't want to.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, it is because.
Because we're influencers too, or because what?
Yeah, well, I guess technically we are influencers, I guess, but we have. I mean, I don't know. What should we talk about here?
Well, just what I said. Like, how have you seen the industry shift? Like,
okay, I think because of the rise of Instagram, specifically that app, that has propelled this other whole game with sponsorships and brands paying money to these people that have got huge followings, that may not necessarily be interested in the sport aspect, maybe more lifestyle based modeling, and And yeah, these brands are doling out dollar bills to these influencers to rep their gear.
Do you feel like it's affected like support for athletes in snowboarding? Like real athletes, or like is there a gray zone, or do people even know the difference?
I think if you're a core athlete, you know the difference.
Right.
Of somebody posing constantly in front of their camera and just shooting lifestyles in front of mountains and being like, yeah, you know, I'm this. It would be like if I just started posting that I was a surfer and me in front of pipeline. Like, look, I'm just getting a little morning surf in.
But you're always
you know
just
that's not legit.
Right, but is it?
But it's.
Are you seeing it be responded to by the sponsors, like the people that are supporting the athletes? Is it shifting, or has it not affected you and your friends?
I think definitely throughout the last few years there have been brands that are like, oh look, we're gonna just work with this influencer, and you see them getting invited to endemic events or whatever, or they're like all of a sudden rocking the same brand that you're rocking, and you're like, wait a second, like
I thought it took
but they're just posing and modeling, and I'm like doing something in the mountains and trying to progress a sport. So it's that yeah, it's I think it's a hard pill to swallow, but for the most part, like, I'm pretty vocal about that whole scenario that's going down to my brands. Like, hey, if we're gonna sponsor, if you guys are looking for other women, talk to me, because I know who is killing it, and I want you guys to support these athletes who have so much drive and passion for the sport versus who are just there to look pretty. And I think there's like a blurred line right now between the whole influencer and then the athlete.
Has it shifted the way you feel like you have to represent yourself? You know, like
it's almost shifted me to thinking I need to get access to these images that I have, and I need to get them on Instagram, because like I'm not out there trying to model. I'm out there trying to ride really fun, creative stuff in the backcountry, and I think that needs to be showcased. And so trying to find, like, I just want to showcase athleticism over, you know, just, and I want to showcase having a purpose. And yeah, it's just the whole influencer versus athlete debate, I think, is a pretty big thing right now, considering there's a lot of brands that want to get their gear on these influencers that have a lot of following, but they may not necessarily have the same purpose as an athlete. And I think that's tough for me, being a female athlete, you know, working my way up in the ranks of being a professional snowboarder. I feel like it's because, you know, we're pushing the sport. And when I see brands dole out money to Instagram influencers, yes, they have an influence to their crowd. Potentially it may be working for the brands, but it just pains me to see that, because there's so many more deserving athletes. And anytime a brand hits me up to ask me about other athletes, I'm like, hey, wait a second, before you decide to sponsor this influencer, look at this person, because like I just feel like it's so important to have role models who are actually focused and passionate about the sport,
right, versus portraying an image. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And it's tougher than ever these days, because a lot of people only see what they see on Instagram, right? And assume that everything there is honest, but you can project anything, any image you want. You can claim yourself to be anything. And if you build up an image behind it, like, why wouldn't people, you know, jump on board? So it's an interesting time, and I wondered if it was you know, influencing your sport as well. Yeah,
but I mean, like, the true credible people in our sport, like, for me, those are the people all you girls and guys should be following. Like, it's important to give those people love. Like, these, like, for example, the Awesome Kids. Have you heard of those?
No. The Awesome Kids. I love it already.
The Awesome Kids, they're like 6 and 10 years old. Skateboarder, little girl, female skateboarder. She does rodeos outside the half pipe on her skateboard and then can like do kick flips on her surfboard. Like,
wow.
Insane. And it's awesome to see her social following grow because she's actually super credible, such a little ripper, and these are the kinds of I think she's probably, I don't know, she's super young.
So that means somebody else is putting her image on Instagram for her.
Her mom. Her account is managed by her mom, and it's her and her little brother, and they're just ripping, and and those are the influences that are what kids need.
Love it.
Yeah.
Right. Then again, I'm like, I don't even know if you want to give, if that's too young, like, to...
sponsorships,
like,
and...
6 and 10. I mean, I'm seeing this more and more, right? Like, TGR, like, their hero right now is 11. I just, like, ran into him mountain biking. I'm like, you're 11.
Wow.
And it's just a lot. So I don't even know what my opinion is about, like, how young we should get these kids into really dangerous things. And skateboarding's different than being in the big mountains.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation that I don't know that I can have, because I don't know. But I know you're also into surfing, and I want to talk about surfing. I love surfing. And and you guys just built building tiny homes, or you built one home and you got this whole plan, and it's like you're living the dream.
Well, living the dream. Well, I actually had a condo in Vancouver for the longest time, and in the summers I was like, man, I just wish I could get on the island. I'd go camping out there all the time. And
you grew up going to the island, right?
No, because I grew up in Calgary. It was pretty far from any ocean. I was definitely a landlocked kid. Mm-hmm. Did not know how to surf. Ocean was definitely pretty foreign to me. But when I moved to Whistler and met Jeff, he actually ended up surprising me with a surfboard and a wetsuit after I came home.
How long have you guys been together now?
So long.
It's really awesome.
We've been together cool. Probably for like 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe longer.
But you haven't gotten married.
We're engaged.
You're engaged, but when did you get engaged?
3 years ago.
How rad is it to always be engaged?
It's awesome. I love it. But yeah, no, he's awesome, and he proposed to me on the top of a mountain snowmobiling. It was so cute.
I love it.
And yeah, it was really
so special. Yeah, I recently got engaged, and everyone's like, well, when's the date? And it makes me feel better. And we're both like, isn't it a big enough deal to get engaged? Like, can we just appreciate that? We don't know when.
Yeah.
So what do you say when people give you that? Or have they stopped asking?
People have stopped asking because they just know that Jeff and I are so slow with everything. And we've just got both of us. He's an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He runs a Dinosaurs Will Die snowboard company.
Yeah, it's rad.
And he devotes every second that he has to that brand. And then, like, I think I've been just really busy with the filmmaking thing, plus being an athlete, and then also these side projects of building houses and whatever. We've got a lot on our plate.
You're building a house in Whistler too right now.
Yeah,
a gangster.
I ended up selling my condo in Vancouver. I just had this epiphany one day, and I was like, okay, I had gone to a Lululemon retreat, and it was all about, being in the present moment and this and that, and I was like, okay, I keep dreaming about all these things, but if I want to make this stuff happen, I just got to do it. The only time frame I have is now.
What was all these dreams?
I wanted to be surfing every summer, like Annie and Marie. Mm-hmm. They take all their summers off all the time and surf. Mm-hmm. And I was living in Vancouver, and I'm like, oh, I should really try to figure out how to get out to the island, Ucluelet and Tofino, which is pretty close to Vancouver. 6 hours away. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I think we need to get out of the city and do this. And so I ended up selling my condo and didn't have much of a plan, but we found land in Ucluelet. And
this is the market's so hot in Vancouver. You probably crushed it.
Yeah, I sold at a high for sure. And this is the only reason why I was able to do what I did. And I found land close to Pemberton, and I also found land in Yuki. I was looking for a little cabin or something, never really found anything, but when we found this land, we were like, let's do it. And so I've had big dreams since then. It's been about 3 years of owning this land, and what I'm realizing is that I'm very glad that I had decided to make that decision at that moment in time to sell my place and do it, because it takes a long time to build, especially on the island, and go through the process. So we've been going through 2 years of rezoning, and my dream was to buy this land in Yuki. It's an acre on the water, and it's called the Saltwater Retreat. It's got its own Instagram. I mean, I thought we would have this whole project done within like 2 years. Wow. And there's still nothing on the land. We built just a shed to put some surfboards in there, but the plan is that it can have up to 400 square foot cabins plus a house. And we're going to start with 2 400 square foot cabins and kind of make it a little surf retreat.
Love it.
Yeah, that's the life dream.
Such an entrepreneur. I love it.
And then, in Whistler, just working on prefabricated build. The cheapest, the most affordable option for us was to make like kind of a square house with a prefab company. And so far so good. We have a roof on, and we're getting to the point where we need to make choices, and it's hard because I'm snowboarding and trying to in my evenings try to pick finishings. So, but it's so fun. It's such a dream to be able to do this and
playing house
your
way.
Yeah, can't even believe that this is reality. But yeah,
so rad. So what's next? You've got 4 films under your belt.
I
houses and live in the surf dream.
Well, to be honest, we've been living in our camper the last 2 years because we preemptively sold our condo, so we had nowhere to live. And so,
like in parking lots or what?
No, we were living in our camper on our land in Yuki.
Okay.
And so,
what about in the winter?
We rented a place.
Okay.
In Whistler and Pemberton last year. So just kind of been jumping around. I'm actually looking forward to ground and have a place to call home. It's been a few years of that, but this winter I just signed with the North Face.
Oh my gosh, congrats. Oh, I actually saw that. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
That's great on you.
Oh, thank you.
Good. That's huge.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to join a company that is really focused on equality. And they've added like a few women to their snowboard team. So
how many are there?
There's 4.
That's huge, because
as professionals,
for the most of us, we've felt like, and I don't know if you can relate, but like when a company has one female skier girl, we're like, oh well, they already have their girl. Like it's sort of been the unwritten rule, and to hear that brands are adding more than just one, to hear that 4, I mean, that's amazing. So but how many male snowboard athletes do they pay? I'm not entirely sure, but I think they're trying to make it pretty equal, and I'm pretty excited to join this roster of athletes. It's just so incredible with all the sports and the connections and the opportunity. So it's really cool. So coming up shortly is a project with Jake Blavelt and Victor Delarue, and I'm going to be shredding with them in my favorite mountains. And you don't even have to produce it yourself.
No.
Or do you?
No,
you just get to be an athlete?
The North Face is hooking it up.
Oh,
I'm so grateful. I'm so looking forward to that.
Cool.
So
we'll be watching for that. Anything else?
I would love to produce another film at some point. Include surfing, maybe. But that's on the back burner until I get my house projects going on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And shout out to your puppy too. It's been rad to see.
Yeah, Bella Kula Bear. We named Bella Kula because, Bella Kula's where the mountains hit the ocean, and I went on an amazing snowboard trip there with Annie for full moon, and I was just so inspired by that area. It was untouched, beautiful land in Canada, and I was like, Bella needs to be named Bella Coola. It's kind of like symbolizes the life that Jeff and I are building between the mountains and the ocean.
Oh, I love it. So the name of the podcast is Showing Up. Like, what does showing up mean to you?
Showing up means to me, I think, what is it? Let me think for a second. I think showing up is just being a part of a community and having a purpose and living it up with your community and enjoying life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what advice would you give to yourself at a time when she really needed it? Like, looking back, like, what would you have said?
I think looking back, I would give myself more confidence just to have the power to make decisions for myself and just to go for it and don't worry about anything because everything works out. But
Awesome.
Just have that confidence.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you so much.
And shred tomorrow. Thank you for listening, friends. If you enjoyed this conversation, give us a review on iTunes, spread the word, and be sure to subscribe. We've also set up a Patreon account where you can become a sustaining patron of the show and help us continue to share these conversations. If you'd like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/showingup. It really supports the show. We also have a few spots left for our unicorn school in Alaska. If you're interested, hit us up on Unicorn Picnic on Instagram. Until next time, see you in the mountains, unicorns.